Not Southern France, right?
Literary virus.
Excuse me, do you know what time it is?
There's a clock on the wall right over there, she said dryly.
Excuse me, what was that?
I said there's a clock on the wall right over there, she said with a touch of impatience.
Yes, I heard about the clock, but what was that you said afterwards? I couldn't quite catch it.
Afterwards? I didn't say anything afterwards. She said in a tone of mild annoyance.
Yes, you did. You just did it again.
You must be hearing things, she said dismissively.
Again. It sounds like you're...
Like on what? She interrupted impatiently.
You did it again. You are. Are you describing how you talk?
Describing? Don't be ridiculous. She replied in a tone of innocent indignation.
I heard that. You are describing what you're saying. That was innocent indignation? Ha! It sounded more like indignant to me.
I didn't say anything. You're imagining things. She expostulated in a tone of aggrieved and angry innocence.
Try to hide it that time. Still sounded just, well, angry to me, and maybe a little bitchy.
With an air of astonished surprise. Bitchy? That was clearly aggrieved innocence.
I don't think so.
Well, how are you qualified to make that distinction? She demanded accusingly.
I don't know. I read a lot. I watch movies. I write. And that was not what I imagined aggrieved innocence sounds like.
Gasping in frightened discovery. You write. Oh, no. That means you're susceptible.
Susceptible? To what? To knowing good acting from bad acting?
I am not acting, she said firmly. It should be clear to you that I am narrating.
Well, narrating, acting, whatever you want to call it, it's really annoying.
Sniffling, sadly. I'm sorry you think so. It isn't my fault. She added with a stifling sob.
And that wasn't stifled. That was a full-blown sob. If it makes you unhappy, just stop it.
I can't. She said, stammering through her tears.
Well, why can't you? It seems pretty easy to me. Just stop it. I think everyone would be grateful.
The only way for me to stop, she said, regaining control, is to just not talk.
Well, then shut up.
She burst into tears. I can't not talk at all. It's too hard. She sobbed.
Will you stop narrating?
I can't. She snibbled. I've got the literary virus, and you're susceptible. She burst into tears again. Oh my God! She said in sudden alarm, and it's getting worse.
What are you talking about? What literary virus?
She turns toward him earnestly. 2 weeks ago, I went to a writer's retreat. She said, and she paused, continuing with pride, my short story was chosen for the publication. They told me I had an original voice, and she started to lose her composure again. I was so full of ideas, and I had ideas for another story, and then just yesterday I started narrating myself, and I can't stop. She begins to cry again, wiping angrily at her tears with the back of her hands, and now it's getting worse because I'm not just describing what I'm saying, I'm describing what I do, she said in agony.
That's absolutely ridiculous. The literary virus, what, like a writing bug? That's just the desire to write. It's not a contagious disease. Hell, I told you I write myself. And by the way, that did not sound like agony, more like indigestion.
Oh dear, she cried. It couldn't be worse. What do you write? She added with apprehension.
Well, mostly sports coverage, but I have a novel that I'm working on, kind of a political sports thriller. Hey, what's wrong and so bad about writing?
Oh, gosh! Don't you get it? She said in unbelieving alarm. A hack writer who dreams of really writing? You are the most susceptible to it. I'm so sorry, she said with weeping contrition. I never would have sat next to you, and she started to move away quickly. I hope it's not too late.
Hey, where are you going? He asked with alarm.
Oh my gosh, it is too late. I'm so sorry, she said with remorse.
Too late, he said with appalled realization. You're crazy, he stammered with ferocious anger.
I'm so sorry, she said, cringing and shaking. I never would have sat near you.
If you'd known, he inquired with sarcasm, you should have known a thing like that. You should have stayed home, he said angrily. You should have stayed in your room. Don't you know that there are writers all over the place?
Not really all over the place, she said, defensively and sniffling. I don't think there are really that many writers who truly write nowadays. She looks around at the other tables disdainfully. You can't call texting and tweeting writing.
With impatience. Okay, maybe not all over, but this is the mecca of writing. This is Starbucks. You can't predict where you might meet a real writer. Goodness. And there you go again, he continued sarcastically, parading about in public where you can expose everyone. How self-centered can you get? He added with even deeper sarcasm.
I said, I'm sorry.
Sighing. So, how long is this thing going to last?
I don't know, she said uncertainly. The first stage lasts maybe a few hours or a week or so.
The first stage? He asked, startled. How many stinging stages are there to this thing? He continued, his anger turning into genuine fear. It's not fatal, is it?
I don't know, she wailed. The first stage is describing one's speech in more serious forms of the virus, she explained, recovering from a semblance of calm. You then progress to the second stage, which is describing one's actions and speech. The third stage, I understand, is describing someone else's speech. And then the fourth stage...
With impatience. What happens in the fourth stage?
I said I don't know! She dabs daintily at her eyes, and most people are just killed by total strangers in the fourth stage. I'm in stage 2, and she leans toward the table, hiding her tear-stained hands.
What do you mean you don't know? You must have heard of it somewhere, he examined harshly.
Bowing her head under the onslaught of his heartlessness, she stammers, I Googled my symptoms, and there was a short article on Wikipedia.
Great! Let's pull it up.
There's no point, she interrupted. I already told you everything I know, and why do you have to be so cruel? Don't you see, and don't you realize how much I'm suffering? She queried with trembling stoicism.
Look, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have yelled. He said grudgingly. Will you stop crying? He adds in aggravation with clenched teeth.
Oh, no, she gasped. Stage 2!
He stares at her in panic with his mouth agape. I thought you said stage 1 only lasted a couple of hours. You can't get anything right, can you? He said angrily. Is there a vaccine or something for this? Am I going to be in stage 4 by midnight? He asked in mounting terror.
She turns to meet his eyes. She shakes her head sadly, then hides her face in her hands as she sobs again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After a pause, she straightens up and sits dejectedly and stares at nothing in particular.
So there's no cure, huh? He said with angry resignation. Damn!
You know, she said cautiously, You use the word angry a lot. Aren't there other adjectives that you could use?
Why should I? He asked with injured pride. Angry pretty much sums it up. What do you want? Outrage?
Well, there's other words like angrily or with anger. I mean, she said, that's not really right, very unpleasantly. I thought sports writers were supposed to use lots of adjectives.
That was uncalled for, he said with growing anger.
She snipped up.
You really know how to hit a man when he's down, don't you? You already infected me, and now you're just hitting below the belt, he continued deliberately in anger.
Turning away with sudden contrition. You're right. I mean, that was uncalled for. I guess it's just. Oh, she sniffled and stifled another sob.
Oh my God. There you go again. He sighed with a mixture of exasperation and hostility.
She looks at him with scholarly approval. That was much better.
She said with mincing precision.
What was that?
She exclaimed, "Damn it! This has got to be stage 3.
He shouted angrily.
Aha! You used it too.
He interjected with accusation.
Will you two shut up?
The stranger barked with pent-up frustration.
The stranger harangued. We're so sorry if we bothered you. Don't we have enough to deal with without complaints from random strangers?
She snarled in irritation.
You want to sip it, lady? Okay, and listen.
She snapped.
Okay, it's really easy. You got it right, okay? I know the cure. I'm only going to say it once. I know the cure.
She pronounced, racing through the statement like a track star near the finish line.
A cure? They cried in hope.
Please tell
Please
us.
tell us.
They pleaded.
Okay, it's really easy. You got it right.
She said,
knowingly.
tersely, right, but I write all the time.
She exclaimed, dumbstruck.
Yeah, but how much have you actually written since you were told you had an original voice?
She accused.
She said with accusation. It hasn't been that long.
She started.
Didn't you say you were full of ideas?
She interrupted. Yes, but I want to have it.
She broke in petulantly.
Just right, so it's even better than the last one. Yada, yada, yada.
She interrupted again. And what is wrong with that?
She queried with an air of patronizing superiority.
It means that you're not writing.
She
explained.
So, and you? What's your excuse? Are you supposed to write some kind of sports, political satire?
She interrogated. Sports, political thriller.
He corrected.
Okay, please, people, just write something, anything, right now.
She begged.
In exasperation.
Okay, see, I'm writing.
He said nastily.
My God, my symptoms are gone.
He said in realization. You're not narrating.
It works. Just be quiet and start writing.
He instructed joyfully.
This is really great.
How does it work?
I don't know. You're like in bigger virus attacks when you're keeping all the creative ideas inside. Like you, thinking about your novel, but not doing anything about it. You keep that inside and all of those ideas, they gotta escape somehow and boom, you got a virus.
Do you have to write all the time?
No, just enough to keep the creative juices from spilling out.
It's a complete cure?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you gotta keep away from infected persons. You could relapse.
Relapse?
Yeah. She said unhappily. Excuse me. She said with realization. Just kidding. Got it right. Right.
make sure that our work back. It was 3 o'clock.